Is it even an aviation channel if it did not upload a video on how to become a pilot? So in this video, I'm going to strike exactly that out of my list. I'm going to tell you how to become a pilot in India and what are the steps, and I'm going to tell you an in-depth roadmap of becoming a pilot in India. So if you are ready, fasten those seatbelts, but this time not your passenger seat seatbelts, but rather your cockpit seatbelts and your shoulder harnesses, because we are ready for takeoff. What's up fellow aviators, and welcome back to the FlyTuber, flying simplified through YouTube. My name is Ali Asghar, and on this channel I talk about interesting aviation facts and aircraft knowledge. So if you are an aviation enthusiast and are interested to know more about aircrafts and flying, consider subscribing. This is the first of the 3-part video series on how to become a pilot, and I did it this way in 3 parts because there was a lot of information that I wanted to share, and if I were to include all of that in one single video, the video would become very long. And also doing it this way has another advantage in making things very sorted, as in you can watch the exact video according to your stage and your requirements, because in this first video I'm going to talk about the prerequisites, or the things you need to do even before you start your training. In the next video, part 2, I'm going to talk about the training itself, what are the requirements, what's the roadmap and things you'll go through in your training. And in third and final video, I'm going to talk about the things you need to do and the steps you need to take post your training and after you get your flying license. And that was the quick overview of how I plan to present these things to you. This is a very important video, so stay tuned. Let's get started. So Mr. Fida Hussain asks in the comment section that how to become a pilot in India post 10th standard and what streams to opt for. So let's answer these questions, and let's start with the steps. So to become a pilot, you need a flying license known as a CPL, or a commercial pilot's license. Now I've made another video on types of pilot licenses. I'll link that up here and also down in the description below, so make sure to go watch that video out. Following are the prerequisites and steps you need to take before starting your training for your commercial pilot license. However, these steps may be jumbled according to your preference, meaning you can do one thing before or after than what order I am specifying here. However, in my personal view, this is the most optimum order. To start off with your flight training, you need to be at least 16 years of age with a minimum educational qualification of having passed class 10th. Although, to apply for your CPL in the later stage, you need to be 18 years of age at least with having passed class 12th or equivalent with maths and physics. Now you don't need to have splendid scores in these, but it's always better to have good marks in these subjects. You just need to pass these subjects, and although it's a personal preference of whether you should start training after 10th or not, but in my view it's better to have your class 12th done before, because it's very hectic to study and also fly and do all the training simultaneously. Now in either case, and I'm assuming that you start your training after your class 12th, you have to get your mark sheets of both your class 10th and your class 12th verified from your respective board. So you just have to go and apply for a verification online, or you have to visit the office offline, and you have to request for a verification. This is done to ensure that your mark sheet and your courses are not forged. While you wait for your verification, this is the right time for you to apply for your police verification clearance from the local police station or the commissioner office. They basically check your criminal history and ensure that you weren't involved in any such activities. Another faster and better alternative is to apply for a new passport if you don't already have one, or to update your existing passport if it requires changes, because this also follows the same steps and it also has a verification, and it is generally faster. Now the next step is to get your class 2 medical done. A medical assessment has 2 different standards, class 1 and 2. I talked about that in my types of licenses video. However, you can get your class 2 medical done with a class 2 authorized DGCA doctor. I have put up the link on that video, and also I'll put up the link down in the description to the list of class 2 approved doctors. Just find a doctor in your city and he'll help you out through the paperwork. It will cost you about 3.5 to 5,000 rupees to get your class 2 medical done. Now with this class 2 medical assessment, you get a PMR file number, which is basically a file in the records of the DGCA wherein all your medical history will be saved throughout your career. Now the last thing before you step your foot in a flight school is to apply for a computer number. This is just like a roll number given to you by DGCA, using which you give all the DGCA theory examinations. This number is going to remain same throughout your career, and it requires certain documents, and I'll probably link the documents below, and maybe also I'll make another separate video on how to get your computer number later on. Now what you have to do after this is take all these documents to the flight school of your choice, and I'll talk about how to decide on flight school and the factors to consider later on. But if you do it this way, the flight school will be pretty impressed on your level of preparedness. Plus, you also will only be left with just one step of giving an oral examination for your SPL. This examination is conducted by the chief flight instructor and the chief ground instructor of that institution, wherein they'll be asking you certain very basic questions of the 5 aviation subjects, that is air navigation, aviation meteorology, air regulations, aircraft technical, and some specific technical questions about the first training aircraft that you are going to fly in your training. Now there's nothing much to worry about this oral examination because it's very brief, it's comparatively easier, plus the flight school will also provide you with a syllabus beforehand from which you can prepare. Now once you clear your oral SPL examination, you just add the results of that to the bunch of documents which you have made earlier and send it over across to the DGCA, or I guess SPLs can be issued by the flight school itself these days. So basically these are the requirements for you to get your SPL, and once you have your SPL in your hand, you are good to go, and this is all you need to start off with your flying training. So a quick recap: you have to get your class 10+2 preferably done, then get the marks memo verified, then apply for your police verification clearance, followed by which you give your class 2 medical examination, and then you apply and get your computer number. You go to a flight school, give an oral examination of SPL, you get your student pilot's license, and you start off with your training. So these are the steps that you need to get your student pilot's license and start off with your flight training. Question of the day: do you have any doubts or questions regarding any of the above steps that I mentioned? If you have, do mention them in the comments below, or you can DM me on my Instagram. I'll put my Instagram ID here and also link in the description. So these are the steps and stages that you need to go through to finally get your student pilot's license. That's it for this video, guys. I hope that all the prerequisites and the steps are very clear and very easy to follow along. Stay tuned for the next video, the part 2, where I'll be talking about the training itself, wherein what all you go through and the steps that you go through in your flying training. If you got value out of this video, do share the video and the channel with your friends, and if you like the content, smash that like button and do subscribe to the channel if you haven't done already. And not to miss, press the notification bell so that you do not miss my part 2 video and many more interesting ones to come. I'll see you over in the next one. Until then, happy landings.